I've always been a fan of fast food, especially Wendy's. There's something about their square-shaped burgers and perfectly seasoned fries that had me coming back time and time again. But after what happened one fateful night, I can't even look at a Wendy's without feeling a chill run down my spine. It was a cold and rainy evening when I decided to make my way to Wendy's. The drive-through line was unusually long, but my craving for a Baconator was too strong to resist. I finally placed my order and pulled around to the window to pay. The young woman working the cash register had a strange look in her eyes. Her name tag read Wendy, and she had fiery red hair that seemed to dance in the dim light of the restaurant. As I handed her my credit card, Wendy's gaze remained locked onto mine, unblinking. I coughed nervously, trying to break the eerie silence that had settled between us, but it was as if she were in a trance. Finally, she took my card, swiped it, and returned it with a forced smile. "Your order will be ready at the next window," she said, her voice wavering as if she were on the verge of tears. I pulled up to the next window, still unnerved by my encounter with Wendy. The rain pounded on my car, casting an eerie ambiance over the dimly lit parking lot. The second window slid open, and another employee handed me my bag of food without a word. I thanked him and sped away, glad to be away from the unsettling atmosphere of that Wendy's. Once I got home, I turned on the TV and started devouring my meal. The Baconator was as delicious as always, and I momentarily forgot about the strange encounter with Wendy. That was until I opened the side compartment of the bag to retrieve my drink. There, tucked beneath a pile of napkins, was a handwritten note. It read, "You'll wish you'd never come to Wendy's." I chuckled at what I assumed was a prank, thinking some disgruntled employee was trying to spook me. But as I continued to eat, my amusement waned, and a sense of unease settled in. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. I decided to ignore the note and put it down to a stupid prank, but my unease wouldn't let me enjoy my meal. Days went by, and I tried to push the incident out of my mind. However, strange things started happening. I began receiving anonymous phone calls in the middle of the night, heavy breathing on the other end. When I picked up, a distorted voice would whisper, "Wendy's is watching." My sleep suffered, and I found myself becoming increasingly paranoid. One evening as I was leaving work, I noticed a Wendy's cup perched on my car's windshield. It was odd because I hadn't even thought of going to Wendy's that day. The cup had a single word scrawled on it in red ink, "Soon." My heart raced, and I felt like I was being taunted. This was no harmless prank. It was harassment, and it was beginning to consume my life. I considered going to the police, but what could I tell them? That Wendy's employees were stalking me? It all sounded so ridiculous, and I was afraid they would dismiss me as a paranoid lunatic. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and get to the bottom of this strange, disturbing ordeal. The following evening, I parked my car at a distance from Wendy's and watched the restaurant from a nearby alley. I couldn't believe I was staking out a fast food joint, but I was determined to catch whoever was behind this torment. Hours passed, and I saw nothing out of the ordinary. It was just the usual hustle and bustle of the fast food business. As the night deepened, I noticed a flickering light coming from the back of the Wendy's building. It was an eerie, pulsating glow that seemed to beckon me. My curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to investigate. I cautiously made my way to the rear of the restaurant, staying hidden in the shadows. What I saw sent shivers down my spine. Behind Wendy's, a group of employees was gathered in a circle, their eyes closed and their hands intertwined. They chanted in a language I couldn't understand, their voices rising and falling in a haunting melody. In the center of their circle, a large pot sat on an open flame, and a foul, acrid odor filled the air. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched this bizarre and disturbing scene unfold. It was as if I had stumbled upon some sort of secret ritual. The employees' faces contorted with a mix of ecstasy and dread as they continued their chant. I couldn't tear my eyes away, even though every instinct screamed at me to run. Suddenly, the chanting stopped, and the employees' eyes snapped open. They turned to look at me, their expressions a mixture of surprise and anger. I was frozen in place, unable to move, unable to escape the terrifying tableau that had unfolded before me. The Wendy's employees approached me, their movements slow and deliberate. I felt like prey being surrounded by a pack of predators. Wendy herself led the way, her fiery red hair cascading down her back. Her eyes, once distant and vacant, now blazed with an unsettling intensity. Without a word, they reached out and grabbed me, pulling me into their circle. I struggled, but their grip was surprisingly strong. They chanted once more, this time in unison, and the flames beneath the pot grew higher, casting flickering, dancing shadows on the ground. My heart raced, and a sense of impending doom washed over me. I had no idea what they wanted, but it was clear that I was in grave danger. Wendy leaned in close, her lips brushing against my ear as she whispered, "You shouldn't have come here. Now you're a part of something you can never escape." As she spoke those words, a sharp pain lanced through my chest, and I gasped in agony. It was as if a cold, invisible hand had reached into my body and squeezed the life out of me. I could feel my strength waning, my vision growing blurry, and the world around me fading into darkness. Just when I thought I couldn't bear the pain any longer, everything stopped. The chanting ceased, and the Wendy's employees released their grip on me. I collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath, my body racked with pain. Wendy stood over me, her expression cold and emotionless. "You've been marked," she said. "From now on, Wendy's will always be a part of your life. You can never escape us." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving me lying on the ground, broken and terrified. The other employees followed her, their faces a mask of indifference. The pot had been extinguished, and the strange, foul odor had dissipated into the night. I managed to crawl away from the Wendy's, my mind reeling from the horrors I had witnessed. I knew that I could never go back there, but it didn't matter. Wendy's had become a permanent fixture in my life, a haunting presence that I could never escape. In the days that followed, I tried to piece together what had happened, but it was impossible to make sense of it. I was plagued by nightmares of Wendy's employees and their strange, terrifying ritual. I even considered seeking therapy, but who would believe such a bizarre story? The phone calls continued, and I received more notes, each one more menacing than the last. It was as if Wendy's had a supernatural hold over me and I couldn't break free. I began to avoid any place that had a Wendy's, but it didn't help. The haunting presence of that restaurant seemed to follow me wherever I went. As the months went by, my health deteriorated, and I became a shadow of my former self. I lost my job, my friends, and my sanity. I spent my days in a dark, dingy apartment, hiding from the world and the relentless torment of Wendy's. One night, as I lay in bed unable to sleep, I heard a whisper in the darkness. It was a voice I recognized all too well, the voice of Wendy herself. She whispered my name and a chill ran down my spine. "You can't escape us," she hissed. "You belong to Wendy's now." I covered my ears, trying to block out the voice, but it was no use. It echoed in my mind, a relentless, taunting presence that I could never escape. I knew then that I was lost, that Wendy's had claimed me as its own, and there was no way out. And so, I live in the perpetual nightmare of Wendy's, haunted by the fast food restaurant I once loved, but now fear more than anything in this world. Wendy's is always with me, its presence an unending torment that I can never escape. I am a prisoner of my own mind, forever marked by the disturbing and terrifying horror that unfolded that fateful night. So, if you ever find yourself craving a Wendy's meal, think twice before you enter those doors. You never know what horrors may be waiting for you, lurking in the shadows, ready to claim you as their own. Wendy's is watching, and once it marks you, there's no turning back.